Welcome to the Meditation Realm, Planeswalkers. I'm Caleb, your guide through these blind eternities, and in today's video, we have one of the Lord of the Rings Commander decks. We're going to be looking over the Riders of Rohan, checking out some of the new cards, seeing if we get lucky in that collector sample pack. There are quite a few borderless foils that you can only get in the sample pack, so there's a lot of hidden value in these Commander decks. The cards themselves, too, are starting to hold some real good value, especially... just the sheer fact that you're not likely going to see these reprinted in any other Commander products, being their universes beyond. So in this one, it's got the usual punch-outs and 1/1 counters. It looks like we got lifelink, a shield, and a vigilance counter as well, because these humans mess around with some other counters. Some other inserts in the back is usual quote-unquote deck box. Still better than what they used to start off with when they first started. You didn't get anything to be able to hold your new cards in. The usual spin down or roll down life tracker. And then we will save that nice little sample pack for last here. And see the new guys. Alright, so the face of the deck here, we have Eowyn, the Shield Maiden. First strike, 5/4 for 2, a blue, a red, and a white. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if another human entered the battlefield under your control this turn, create 2/2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Then if you control 6 or more humans, draw a card. So another human tribal, except this time it's going Jeskai. And then we have Aragorn, King of Gondor, 4/4, vigilance lifelink for 4, 1, a blue, a red, and a white. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch, and when he attacks, up to 1 target creature can't block this turn. If you are the monarch, creatures can't block this turn. Okay, so he makes it to be able to go either go wide or just nerf one that dude out when you attack and be able to hopefully go at somebody who's only got one person blocking. Both of which could be decent commanders. I think Aragorn might be the better one, especially if you're focusing on the monarch portion of it. But if you're going more human route, build around Eowyn. And then this set has a lot of commons and uncommons from the new set. We're going to go ahead and kind of skip through most of these. I do like that they got new art on all of these cards, like Path to Exile. It's a reprint, but it's still got new art from Lord of the Rings. So it's pretty sweet to see a lot of these still put into use. Ooh, Path and Swords to Plowshares. That's some good removal. Got a Bell Ringer. Alright. Theoden, he does a lot of work. Giving double strike is very strong when you have a lot of humans on board. And it seems like the mana ramp continues to be real solid for all of these decks. Over the years, the mana ramp has gotten so much better. Ooh, Talisman of Progress, that's a good reprint. Has not had many. And it definitely makes it a lot easier to play some of these decks, where before it would sometimes be so hard to play a deck right out of the box because the mana base and the mana ramp would be so terrible, you could just never get out of the gate. So here's our first new card. We have Bearground of the Guard. It's a legendary human soldier for 3 and a white. It's a 3/3. When it enters the battle, it or another human enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control gain +1/+1 and vigilance until end of turn. So this guy can definitely swarm. You create a lot of soldier tokens. All of a sudden, you're blowing out the board with huge buffs. See that being good. Champions of Minas Tirith. A human soldier for 5 and a white. It's a 4/6. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch at the beginning of combat on each opponent's turn. If you're the monarch, that opponent may pay X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. If they don't, they can't attack you this combat. So this guy basically makes it so that they don't get to attack you as long as you're the monarch, which helps keep you to be the monarch longer. Oof. This can be really good, especially against the heavy blue decks that run 7, or run effects to be able to have 7, 8, 9 more cards in hand at all times. Definitely, I can see this team play. A little expensive, but then we have Gilrain, Dunedain Protector or Dunedain, legendary creature, human noble for 2 and a white. It's a 2/3. You can pay 2 and tap her. Exile another target creature you control. You may return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If you don't, at the beginning of the next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a vigilance counter and a lifelink counter on it. So essentially you can delay cards a turn and they'll come back in with vigilance and lifelink. I like that. Another interesting flicker card to use. Grey Host Reinforcements is a Spirit Soldier for 3 and a white. It's a 1/1 with flying and ward 3. When it enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. Put a number of 1/1 counters on it for equal to the number of creature cards exiled this way. So graveyard hate becomes big flyer with protection. Ward is pretty relevant. At extra cost can sometimes be almost like hexproof in the early game. Lossenark Captain. It's a human soldier for 3 and a white with first strike. It's a 3/1. When it or another human enters the battlefield under control, tap target creature an opponent controls, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 human soldier creature token. So it comes out, it's able to tap stuff down, it creates tokens on your board to be able to, during each upkeep, to be able to continuously tap stuff down. Yeah, you can see play. It's something to be able to tap down the board and be able to go wide at your opponents. Archivist of Gondor. We have a human advisor for 2 and a blue. It's a 2/3. When your commander deals combat damage to a player, if there is no monarch, you become the monarch. At the beginning of the monarch's end step, that player draws a card. So, I mean, it's extra draw for being the monarch, but at the beginning of the monarch's end step, that player draws a card. So if somebody steals it from you, this lets them be able to draw extra cards off it. I don't know about letting my opponents draw extra cards when they're the monarch. Denethor, the Stone Seer, legendary creature, human noble for 1 and a blue. He's 1/3. When he enters the battlefield, you scry 2. You can pay 3 and a red and tap him. Target player becomes the monarch, or sack him. Target player becomes the monarch. Denethor deals 3 damage to any target. Okay. But, I don't know about playing him, actually. It's kind of an expensive effect just to become the monarch. Fealty to the Realm. We have an aura for 4 and a blue. Enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. The monarch controls enchanted creature. An enchanted creature attacks each combat if able and can't attack you. Okay, so you're able to steal potentially a creature from somebody who is the monarch, attack them with something on your board. This makes you become the monarch. You get to steal something, so if somebody else has it, you become the monarch. You get to steal the creature, and then even if they manage to take the monarch from you, that creature they gain still can't attack you. So this can definitely see some play. Some fun not build arounds, but includes into those goad style decks. We have Call for Aid. It's a sorcery for 4 and a red. Gain control of all creatures target opponent controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures. They gain haste until end of turn. You can't attack that player this turn. You can't sacrifice those creatures this turn. So this basically just lets you take somebody's board and smack another opponent with it. Could potentially be a lot of damage. It's kind of like a cheaper Insurrection, but it's only for one person. Maybe. And then, okay, we got Gimli from the... Okay, so now we're going to reprints from the actual set. We got Gimli, the Glittering Caves. And then we got Boromir, Gondor's Hope. Eomer, King of Rohan. Faramir, Steward of Gondor. Oh, no, wait. Are they still new? Maybe I'm just so used to seeing them. Gimli, Glittering Caves, 2 red, legendary creature, double strike. Legendary creature, dwarf warrior is a 1/1, double strike. Yeah, when it or another legendary... Oh, forgive me. Whenever another legendary creature enters the battlefield under control, put a 1/1 counter on them. When it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Okay. Boromir, Gondor's Hope. When he enters the battlefield or attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a human or artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. He's a 3/4 legendary human warrior for 2 a blue and a white. Yeah, I kind of put him at the meh. Not very good. Eomer, King of Rohan. Legendary creature, human noble for 3 a red and a white with 2/2 double strike. When he enters the battlefield, or Eomer, King of Rohan, enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each other human you control. So he can definitely be strong if you've already got a strong board already. And when he enters the battlefield, target player becomes a monarch. Eomer deals damage equal to its power to any target. Interesting. So you can either choose yourself or make somebody else the monarch, and then you just deal damage to somebody. That seems pretty strong. Or any target. I like that. Faramir, Steward of Gondor. Legendary creature, human noble for 1 a blue and a white. 2/2, whenever a legendary creature with mana value 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your end step, if you're the monarch, create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. And then we have 4th Eolongus. Yorlingus? I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sure. You guys can correct me in the comments. Sorcery for X, a red and a white. Create X 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. If one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to one or more players this turn, become the monarch. I've seen that this card's been going up in price because it's seeing some play quite a bit. Even apparently in some older formats like Legacy, because you can just pay a red and a white, have a dude attack, and then you become the monarch. Or you can pay 3 mana, put out a 2/2 trample haste, swing at somebody, get the monarch. I've seen some play, and definitely Commander's playing it. Oath of Eorl. We have a Saga for 3 red and a white. On the first chapter, you create 2/1/1 white human soldiers creature tokens. The second chapter, you create 2/2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. And then the third chapter is put an indestructible counter on up to 1 target human, and you become the monarch. Okay. And then we have Riders of Rohan. It's a 4/4 human knight for 3 red and a white. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. And it has dash for 4 red and a white. So late game, this basically lets you be able to dash it in, create the 2 tokens, swing at somebody, and then return this to your hand to continuously make more tokens for the late game. It's an okay card for humans deck. The human synergy can be quite there, especially because you're getting the 2 bodies with trample and haste. This might be the best card from the deck in my opinion. Taunt from the Rampart. Goad all creatures your opponents control. Until your next turn, those creatures can't block. And it's a sorcery for 3 red and a white. So you basically get to make it so that your team can swing out because nothing can block. And then every one of your opponent's creatures that are left have to attack because they're goaded. And they have to attack each other. So this is going to be one of those cards that just blow out games because you're going to be able to swing out, deal a ton of damage, and not worry about any backlash combat damage-wise from your opponents. Unless they play several hasty guys. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. This is one of the few I see jumping up in price. Highly recommend you pick this guy up. Crown of Gondor is a legendary artifact equipment for 3 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, if there is no monarch, you become the monarch. You can equip for 4. This ability costs 3 less to activate if you're the monarch. Okay. Specifically, gotta play this in the monarch deck to be good. And then we have Bastion Protector. Okay, now I think we're getting to the rare reprints. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. Dearly Departed. As long as Dearly Departed is in your graveyard, each human creature you control enters the battlefield with additional 1/1 counter on it. Flying creature for 4 and 2 white. Okay, so yep, we're down to the reprints. Frontline Medic. Good old Medic. I like the art again for so many of these cards. Increasing Devotion. Marshal's Anthem. Selfless Squire. Unbreakable Formation. Bird Rangers. Interesting. I guess I remember seeing this guy. First strike, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. As long as an opponent controls more lands than you, you may play lands from the top of your library. Interesting. I don't remember seeing this guy. I wonder what set this was from. Visions of Glory. Weathered Wayfarer. This guy used to be a staple. Still's good for white decks, but this is a great reprint. Combat Celebrant. We definitely needed this because there hadn't been one since Amonkhet, and this card is so strong. It was so expensive for a while. Court of Ire. Earthquake. Flame Rush Rider. Frontier Warmonger. Harsh Mentor. Shared Animosity. Zealous Conscripts. Supreme Verdict. A lot of board wipes for a heavy human deck. Door of Destiny is another good reprint, also dropping in price too because of the reprints. Vanquisher's Banner, again, another great one for... both of these cards are great for tribal decks. There's a lot of good tribal cards in this deck. If you don't already have them, this might be a good pickup for you for the combination of great human cards and just great tribal cards to use throughout decks. Then we got the lands again. We're getting much better at the lands that we're reprinting. Battlefield Forge, Clifftop Retreat, Exile Orchid, Fury Calm Snarl, Glacial Fortress, Port Town, Prairie Stream, Sulphur Falls. And, we're not going to get any shocks, but Throne of the High City. Pay 4, sack it, you become the monarch. Oh, cool. A land that can make you the monarch if it's too bad to attack. Windbrisk Heights. See, these are the ones that I get disappointed in seeing. We shouldn't be getting these types of lands in Commander decks anymore. We have too many of like the basically bulk rare lands that they include in all the decks now that these shouldn't be a thing. Especially when they're going to give us, how many basics does this deck have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 basic lands. These, ooh, that's a lot of basic lands. A lot of basic lands. Alright, well, that's the deck. And then we got the tokens, of course. Looks like each deck's been including a ring in it, because they want you to be tempted by the ring. Alright, let's see. Speaking of the ring, I know nobody can pull the one ring anymore. It has been found officially. But, yeah, you can still pull a sweet potential borderless foil from these, which is, I think it's like one of the more expensive cards from it. I know that Shelob is also getting really expensive too. Alright, and what's our collector sample pack card? It is Sting, the Glinting Dagger. Nice! This is going to be a great card for Commander too. The untapping each combat on so many creatures is going to be huge. You know, there's last line attack, first strike against goblins or orcs, basically doesn't matter. You're not going to, unless your play group consistently plays goblins, probably not going to matter. But that untap, oh, that's going to be huge. And the +1/+1 in haste, be able to equip it to something, activate its tap ability, untap it on your combat, and then every other combat, this card's going to get some work. I highly recommend picking up the normal version while it's cheap. Thank you for joining me, Planeswalkers. Ooh, and a Mirkwood Bats, another great card to pick up for Commander. This card's going to see a lot of play. Again, thank you for joining me. Always glad to have you here, guys. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.